let's talk about something that quietly derails a lot of good managers: delegation. Not the concept, you know what delegation is, but the actual doing of it. Trusting someone else with something that matters. Letting go of how you would do it and not hovering over their shoulder every 5 minutes. That part, that's where it gets hard. And if you've ever said, it's just faster if I do it myself, or if you've taken something back from someone because it wasn't going quite right, or if you found yourself working late on tasks that technically weren't even yours anymore, this video is for you. I'm Fernanda and I work with managers and organizations on people development. I've coached leaders across industries, across cultures, and across every flavor of delegation struggle that you can imagine. And today, I'm going to walk you through why this is so hard, what it's actually costing you and your team, and a practical framework that you can start using right away. Let's get into it. First, let's name what's actually going on, because I'm a control freak is rarely the whole story. The reason number one is fear of losing quality. You have a standard, you know what good looks like. Handing something off feels like gambling with that standard. What if it comes back wrong? What if it reflects badly on you? Reason number two, it will be faster if I do it. This one is sneaky because it's true in the short term. You can write that report faster than you can explain how to write it. So do it yourself and then do it again next week and the week after that. And now you've built a system where you are permanently the bottleneck. Reason number three, not wanting to burden the team. This is the one nobody talks about enough. A lot of managers, especially empathetic ones, hold back because they don't want to pile more on someone who already looks busy. The intention is kind, but what it's actually doing is it's keeping your team from growing. It keeps the manager drowning. Reason number four, fear of what happens when someone does it differently. It's not wrong, it's just different. And somehow that feels almost harder to accept than an actual mistake. Reason number five, perfectionism doing a very convincing impression of high standards. There's a difference between having standards and being unable to release control unless something is done exactly your way. One makes you a good leader, the other makes you a bottleneck. Any of those sound familiar? Because they should. Most of us have lived in at least one of these, and some of us have lived in all five at the same time. Here's the part that people underestimate. The cost isn't just your stress level, though that matters too. When you don't delegate, or if you delegate and then you hover, the cost spreads. It spreads to you. You stay stuck doing the work that isn't at your level. You don't have space to think strategically and you burn out. At some point, your capacity becomes your team's ceiling. It also spreads to your team. People don't get to stretch. They don't get to take on ownership of meaningful work. And they don't get to fail safely and learn from it. Over time, they stop trying to bring their best thinking because they've learned it won't be trusted anyway. Adam Grant talks about how the best managers build capacity in others, not just output. When you overfunction, you underdevelop the people around you. That's not a small thing. That's the difference between a team that needs you for everything and a team that grows beyond what you've imagined. And engagement research backs this up. Gallup consistently finds that autonomy, or feeling trusted to do your work, is one of the strongest predictors of employee engagement. When people don't feel trusted, they disengage. Your strongest people start looking for environments where they can actually step up. So the question isn't, can I do it faster myself? The question is, what does it cost to everyone if I do? Okay, let's talk about how to actually do this well. Because delegation isn't just, here, let's do this. Done right, it's a development conversation. Here's a simple framework I use with managers. I call it set, support, receive. Step one, set clear expectations before you hand anything off. This is where most delegation falls apart. The manager tosses something over the fence with vague instructions. The team member does their best and it comes back not quite right. And then the manager thinks, see, this is why I just do it myself. But before you delegate anything, get clear on what does done look like, not how to get there, what the outcome should be, what's the deadline, and what are the checkpoints along the way. What level of autonomy does this person have? Can they make decisions independently, or do they need to loop you in at certain points? What resources do they have access to? And here's a step most managers skip. Check for understanding. Don't just ask, does that make sense? Because almost everyone says yes. Ask them to reflect back on what they're going to do. Not to quiz them, but to make sure that they're aligned before they spend 3 days going in the wrong direction. Step 2, support. Give autonomy and a safety net. This is the piece that separates delegation from abandonment. Once you've handed something off, your job is not to disappear. It's to be available without hovering. There's a big difference. Ken Blanchard's situational leadership model is really useful here. The level of support that someone needs depends on two things: their skill level and their confidence. A new team member doing something for the first time needs more guidance. A seasoned person doing something in their wheelhouse needs you to mostly get out of the way. Your job is to read which situation you're in and calibrate accordingly. A simple check-in structure works well here. Something like, I'll leave you to run with this. Let's touch base on Thursday just to see where you are. Not to review, just to answer any questions. That's not micromanaging. That's support with a light touch. Step 3 is to receive. Receive the work with openness. This is the part nobody puts in a delegation framework, and it might be the most important one. When work comes back, your first job is not to evaluate it against how you would have done it. Your first job is to evaluate it against the outcomes you agreed on step 1. Did they meet the brief? Is the work good enough to move forward, even if it's not exactly how you would have done it? If yes, let it go. Let their version be their version. If it needs revision, great. This is where the development actually happens. Give specific feedback. Explain the why behind the changes, not just the what. And send it back to them to revise. Resist the urge to just fix it yourself. That moment when they rework it and get it right, that's the whole point. Michael Bungay Stanier has a great question in the coaching habit that's worth keeping in your back pocket. What kind of support are you looking for? It sounds simple, but it stops you from jumping in with advice or taking over when what the person actually needed was just a sounding board. Let's talk about the moment that trips up even well-meaning managers. Someone does the work, it's fine. It might even be good, but it's not how you would have done it. Different format, different approach, different sequence. And something in you just wants to say, actually, can you just do it like this instead? Here is a question worth sitting with first. Is this a quality issue or a preference issue? Quality issues are real. If something is inaccurate, incomplete, doesn't meet the agreed upon outcome, that's feedback territory and you give it. Preference issues are different. If the work meets the brief, but it just doesn't look like yours, that's information about you. It's not a problem with them. And here's what I want you to consider. Sometimes their way is actually better. Sometimes a fresh perspective produces something you wouldn't have thought of. That only happens if you give people the space to bring their own thinking to work. Now, what if someone genuinely struggles and the work keeps coming back needing major revisions? That's not a delegation failure. That's a developmental signal. It means the person needs support, more coaching, maybe more scaffolding before they can own this type of work independently. You adjust your approach. You don't just take the task back permanently and call it a day. Brené Brown talks about clear being kind. Vague delegation followed by disappointment when someone doesn't read your mind, that's not fair to anyone. Clarity up front, specific feedback when needed, patience with the process. That's what good delegation looks like in practice. Delegation is a skill. It's not a personality trait, not something you either have or you don't. It's something you learn, practice, and get better at. And it's something your team will feel the impact of immediately when you do. So here's what I want to leave you with. Start small, pick one task this week that you have been holding on to, and ask yourself, could someone else do this? Could it be a growth opportunity for them? And if the answer is yes, use the set, support, and receive framework and try it. You don't have to be perfect at this. You just have to start. If you want to go deeper on this, delegation is one of the core modules in my manager development programs. I work with organizations to build this kind of capability at scale because one manager learning to delegate better is great, but a whole team of managers doing it, that changes a culture. If that's something you would like to explore, the link is in the description. Let's talk. And if this video is useful, share it with a manager you know who needs it. It might be the nudge they didn't know they were waiting for. I'll see you on the next one.